the kind of demand that OTT expects from the technicians or actors. So a background with theatre gives immense opportunity for all these actors to get into OTT as quickly as possible and adapt. So that's the kind of opportunity theatre actors and skilled actors have in OTT as of late.
The consistency factor, the graph, the flow, I think that's the most challenging thing that most actor must be going through. I go through it, and I would like to believe that everyone goes through it.
But for the first time, we are making every filmmaker in India, like nobody in India has ever made a series, right? There is no producer, nobody who knows how to make a series in India, and suddenly now we have to make a series. So I think that jugaad mentality, that idea of going back and figuring out how it's done, that comes in very handy.
And we always treat actors like melting ice on table. We feel that it should be shot as soon as they're fresh and not let them think too much and start improvising too much later. The first improvisations are great.
Fiction is very clear. You have to have a very clear concept, which is succinctly explainable. If you you have to read the script to understand it, that means you yourself don't know the concept. So Bible includes a concept note, artistic statement, which is the tone and the treatment, and the take you want to take, which is unique.
Understanding where they are coming from, how they are looking at the character. And then, I try to go beyond that and surprise myself, and put some new things, give some new dimension to their characters and how they are looking at it.
Here, the interesting part is it's there all the time, OTT. So people can watch, even if they don't have the time, they can watch accordingly. They might take a month to see it. They might take 2 months to see it. But people do watch. So there's a consistent viewership that always goes on.
They are the creators and actors of some of the most popular and critically acclaimed web series on OTT platforms. They have entertained us, inspired us, and challenged us with their stories and performances. So with a big round of applause, please welcome Mr. Manoj Bajpai, Mr. Raj, Mr. Raj Nidimoru, Mr. Krishna DK, Miss Apurva Bakshi, and Mr. Sri Krishna Dayal. We are honored and delighted to have them with us today. We also have a very distinguished moderator with us. He's a film consultant. He has authored Lights, Camera, Masala, Making Movies in Mumbai, and Rajnikant, the definitive biography. He's also a columnist and a film critic. He is none other than Ms. Naman Ramachandran. Please, a big round of applause to welcome Mr. Naman Ramachandran on stage. Now, I would also like to request D. Ramakrishnan, General Manager, National Film Development Corporation, to please come on stage and felicitate the dignitaries.
Group photo. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We will also take questions from the audience at the end, so keep them ready and raise your hand when prompted. Now over to Mr. Naman to please start the session.
Thank you. Thank you all for showing up on this in large numbers on this very hot afternoon, and I'm glad that we have a very distinguished panel with us this afternoon. Let's begin with OTT, or streaming as we call it, is fairly nascent in India, and all the people from on this panel have come from different disciplines to OTT. So can we start with you, Dayal? Now you have an extensive theatre background. So can you tell us about how your theatre background helped you to get into the streaming or OTT space?
Hello everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
So, yeah, in nutshell, if not for OTT, I'm not here at all in this point of time, and then I would not have had the opportunity of being on-screen actor. So that's the kind of power that OTT has today. The kind of demand that OTT expects from the technicians or actors. So a background with theatre gives immense opportunity for all these actors to get into OTT as quickly as possible and adapt. So though the process of working is different, how you create a scene, how you create a story, how you structure would be different in theatre, but then in OTT is also different. But how quickly one actor can adapt into this medium is unbelievable. So that's the kind of opportunity theatre actors and skilled actors have in OTT as of late. This is the best period ever.
So specifically, what discipline of theatre has really helped you in OTT?
I think discipline. Discipline. I think that's what theatre teaches you, because no matter what, it's a life. So the actor has to be available. Every single actor, whether he's playing the lead or he's going to stand right behind, holding an armor and then just standing there. He's got to be there on stage, on time. So that, I think, gives a total dimension towards adapting into OTT, because the creators of OTT are extremely demanding. They don't have the time, because the depth of scene that they are creating today, people used to say that getting into the skin of the character, but it's no longer that. Getting into the skin of the scene is what is important today. So how all actors believe, trust in each other in theatre, that is reflecting now in OTT. Because if there's no trust on stage, then the scene falls flat, and that is what is happening in OTT, because that trust, the director or the creators are expecting that kind of a trust among each other. So that's beautiful space now, yeah.
And coming to you, Manoj, you had a long and successful film career. You still have a long and successful film career before you got into OTT. How did it help you? I'm sure you'll say acting is acting, but was there anything specific that helped you in the longer format?
Longer format is very challenging. On the contrary, Dayal was partially right in saying that you have to get into this skin of the scene, but it's keeping the consistency of the character, keeping the flow of the character, keeping all those nuances of the character, and also remembering each and every scene and where it's coming is the most difficult thing. I mean, Raj and DK, they start with the first episode, scene from first episode, and the second scene that we are going to shoot, it actually coming from the 9th episode. So keeping the keeping the graph, and deciding the graph of it, in a matter of time, I think it's a most difficult thing. And you can only do it if you are with the character and with the script. You can't do it, otherwise you are just depending on your directors and their guidance. And I personally like to be self-sufficient and not bother my directors all the time where it's coming, how should I do it. Instead of that, I would like to surprise my directors and tell them that no, I am quite abreast with the script and I remember it. Now let's try various things about it. So yeah, the consistency factor, the graph, the flow, I think that's the most challenging thing that most actor must be going through. I go through it, and I would like to believe that everyone goes through it. It goes through the same thing.
So, how do you do it? As in, do you do it in your head or do you make notes? What's your secret?
Preparation time is the notes time. When you are doing it, that is not the time when you start jotting down. On the day of the shoot, I try to rehearse quite a lot. I try to read my scenes, as much as possible. Then, with the directors and their input, try various things about it. If I'm going wrong, there is Raj or there is DK who's coming and telling me, Manoj, I think this is not going to be right, because before this, your reaction is going to be this. So this performance will not work for you. I'll give you an example. A shootout happens in police station in second season. Okay. After Sunny Hinduja's character, what was his name? Milind dies, and the first time when I performed, I howled. Okay, and Raj came to me and said, Manoj, no, don't do that. Just give me a performance where you are just stunned. Because after this, you are going to speak to your wife, and there you would be breaking down. So you can't break down here. So these little things.
That's just one of the times we said, otherwise he's one of those first rankers who act like getting studied. And all night he mugged up. He comes to the shoot like he hasn't prepared at all. And he's joking around, and we are thinking, did he even read the scene? I'm always worried he's going to do it right. So he's just one of those guys, who will surprise you on the scene. And he wants to surprise us constantly. I said, tell me, it's okay. I don't want to be surprised every time. So yeah, he's one of the most well-prepared actors who doesn't look it. But once he performs, you realize that he's actually on the dot every single time.
Thank you.
And Rajan, DK, and in whichever order you want to answer. Now, you came into OTT with a background of independent cinema. With I still remember watching Flavors, which is still one of my favorite films of yours, and which was delightfully indie. And now, then after a few films, you did Family Man, which is obviously big in scale and everything. So, what about indie cinema helped you, make a mark in OTT?
I think indie cinema made us complete filmmakers. I remember making our first business cards where we wanted to say director and all that, but we wanted to make it filmmaker because it felt like a complete definition of somebody who would not just direct, but write, direct, produce, edit, whatever needs to be done. So indie filmmaking for us really taught us to be self-sufficient, completely self-reliant. Just the two of us could actually go and shoot a film, edit the film, add music, sound, the whole damn thing till it releases. So that's what gave us the confidence that we don't know anybody else in the industry. So what do we know is the skill set that we taught ourselves. We bought a computer, taught ourselves how to edit. So this whole package gave us the confidence that wherever you put us, we can make a film, irrespective of the budget, irrespective of the stars. So I think that's what still keeps us going. Even the Family Man, the way we shot it, the way we approached it, the way we switched from features to series, the indie background was so strong for us that it helped us so much to to do anything and kind of push the envelope wherever we want to, because at the end of it, it's just you. You can screw it up or you can do it well. So it's in your hands.
See, I mean, not necessarily for OTT, but indie filmmaking, what it does is it helps you come to terms with that you'll not get everything you want, and there's a lot of things you won't know, and you'll have to kind of adapt, and jugaad is the word for it, somehow get the job done. That's how we started off making films. So once we are comfortable making films, we made a few films and everybody's making films, suddenly this new beast called OTT, this series comes to India, right? I mean, of course, all of us have seen series from the West, and there are so many favorite series from the last decade or two that we all have. But for the first time, we are making every filmmaker in India, like nobody in India has ever made a series, right? There is no producer, nobody who knows how to make a series in India, and suddenly now we have to make a series. So I think the jugaad mentality, that idea of going back and figuring out how it's done, that comes in very handy. So because when we made our first series, we had to relearn a lot of things about how to make a series, just like we had to learn how to make a film in our first film.
No, also, Naman, I'm so sorry I'm taking this, but there are certain framings that they do in their series. Usually, you've never seen it. You've seen it in indie films. Okay, there's certain framing, certain composition that these two used to suggest the cameraman, or suddenly think of putting the camera in some place and shooting that particular shot. That used to give me suddenly it used to tell me that these guys are either watching all the independent films or they are going back to their flavors days. So I think it helps in crafting also. Am I right? It helps in crafting your scenes, your shots. I think it helps me a great deal. My own experience of independent films.
Lovely. Apurva, can you tell us about your journey and what led to Delhi Crime?
So I started out as a banker and soon realized that power of storytelling was where my heart gravitated towards. I'm a army kid who traveled our country and truly believe that we have hyperlocal stories that must reach the rest of the world. The route to Naman, reaching Delhi Crime was exactly in these 3 steps. I was a Sony Pictures Networks Asia girl. I used to run Animax and EXN for a long time. And American programmers with the love of my life, as in Amazing Race Asia, you name it, like Cyril, Simply Magic, Minute to Minute. And till I met Anurag, Kashyap, and Vineet. And they had this entire, I call them very lovingly gangs of Aramnagar, who have built this beautiful indie haven. You walk into the Aramnagar space in Bombay, you'll feel the whiff of independent cinema. And it was very raw, it was beautiful. I saw some documentaries. I remember the first ones were Placebo and Haramkot. These are the 2 films that I saw that completely blew me away in terms of its narrative strength. And I started falling in love with indies. So I started watching, and they kept rolling out one film after the other in terms of Vimeo links, right? Not accessible, best film festival runs, but deeply appreciated across the world, but there was no distribution. So I like to plug myself as a need gap, how do I kind of fill in the gap? And I kind of started going to every independent filmmaker. And meanwhile, I had left my job and fallen in love with a person who lived in the United States. So I didn't have a job at that time. So I thought I'll self-create that job. And I said, okay, I'll go to every independent filmmaker who has made a film in the past 10 years, who've traveled festivals. And so many of your pieces dropped into my lap. And it was just like I went to Netflix and I knew that they were opening their global channels and global territories. And I said, whatever you give to one Salman Khan film, give me for 40 films, 40 independent. So these were films that were completely jaded, and independent filmmakers were supposed to, I have convinced them that when I said digital rights, they were like, "Aap piracy karte hain. You are the one who, so the intention was to be able to train them. So I spent 2 years convincing filmmakers to give the portfolio. And the first deal that we structured with Netflix kind of gave life. But that was also the beautiful time when Ammu, Siddharth, Amal, Fandri, Filmistan, a group of films was released, and they've not only found viewership from across the world, it started opening up metrics in terms of what OTTs can do. So a lot of our careers are built on that, but I started understanding the lead gaps. And then the buying patterns, renewal of deals kind of started teaching us what is it that is appreciated. Telegram came with a lot of love, with Richie just trusting my instincts for feedback, for creative feedback. And once I read the scripts, I said, no matter what, I will make this happen, because we went to every platform and everybody passed on it. From Netflix to Amazon to Hulu to Vice. I even went to some South American platforms. What was interesting was that a bunch of financiers came together. They had faith. SK Global was the last to enter, and mentors Jeff Sagansky and Aaron Kaplan. The story is quite well known, but it was I had to put in my own money, and I went all out. And that was the big risk that you do take with pieces that you really trust. And these are calculated risks. And now, you know what Telegram was able to do. You have to have faith in the bound script. And then nobody else, like that is the living, breathing leader. And including the director starts serving the purpose of achieving that. I would like to point out to what Manoj said as well, and Dayal said as well, is that there's an ensemble here. There is this teamwork that they spoke about so beautifully. That there is a protagonist and there's a very clear structure of who is the hero and the anti-hero, but there is an ensemble that uplifts. Like if it was only Manoj was only shouldering the responsibility of putting so many plot lines and carrying the weight of so many plot lines, the other performers, and that's why theatre performers and drama school performers are so well adaptive, because the discipline that you have to perform on stage on that one day together as a cohesive unit is so brilliantly translated to an OTT environment where you don't have, specific. All Bollywood films have that very specific one character-led storyline. Here, everybody has their own subplots, and they have to shoulder that responsibility of elevating. So a Shefali gets elevated because of Rajendra or Rasika Duggal, like all of them, Rajesh Telan, all of them really uplift that performance, and so does Go With Him. So this cohesive unit, and that's a dream and a boon and a bane actually as producer as well as for directors, because there's a larger unit to manage. But series are truly large independent films, in my understanding. Like a Telegram would be 3 independent films put together. So that's my journey. That's how I read Telegram. But my last one was Hunt for Veerappan, which is my very favorite. So we'll talk about that. But yeah, that's the latest.
Yeah, there's a picture of you on the Telegram set, taken at some 3 in the morning. You'd actually fallen asleep on a script. I still remember that.
So I used to do Hindi dialogue reads for, I don't know why, like Richie, obviously, he is fully Desi and completely a full Delhiite, but his Hindi is horrible. So I used to do dialogue checks, and I had passed out because we were exhausted. But there was a lot of labor of love in building that one, because it's truly indie. Everybody came in for the passion of wanting to do something bigger. My crew's average age was 27 years, including our DOP who was 25, who's now their DOP, Johan Aydit. He started with Telegram 1. And it was that raw energy and young energy. Like Richie was the oldest man on set, he was 40. Nobody, like everybody else I was 33 at that time. It's really important to be able to get that energy. That's why we dealt with dark material and we wrapped it in 62 days straight. Because it was independently financed, like there was just no liberties. So yeah, that was you talk about this photograph a lot now, but nobody cares about it. I think Richie refuses to pull it down. But it was exhaustion of another point, but it was also deep satisfaction. I was smiling while I was sleeping.
So I wanted to ask all of you about unlearning. Starting with Dayal. Now, a theatre, it's a space like this. You have a stage, you have an audience like this, and it requires a lot of projection, right? And OTT is at the other end of the scale. So, without getting too technical, can you say what's your process of acting for OTT and keeping it subtle?
unlearning is a very interesting word because that was the first word that I learned when I joined theatre. My director said that the first thing that you need to learn is unlearn. Things like small gestures that we have built over the period of years, as we grow up, scratching or, all those small things. So how do you stand neutral on stage? Just stand without switching, nothing. So that was the first challenge that one has to go through. So from there, theatre builds. So all these kind of trainings that one goes through in theatre, the expectation from the creators of OTT is very simple. So when they know there is a theatre actor that's on stage, who's casted, the approach would be different. That is what is my experience that I have seen. The way they communicate what is expected from that scene or from that actor. See, these days in OTT there are 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes single shots. It's as good as doing a play, a scene on stage. It's unbelievable to see all that happening. So actors, when it comes to stage, it's about it's actor's medium, but OTT or cinema is a director's medium. So how quickly one adapts to the expectation of the creator is what matters, and that's quite possible. These days you see a lot of theatre actors, busy with OTT and cinemas. That's a real case today.
And Manoj, did you have to do any unlearning to adapt to the streaming medium?
I don't know. I don't remember. The only thing that you unlearn is what you have prepared. This is what I do. I prepare hard, and after that I forget about it. Because this is very important to. Preparation is very important so that you are confident and you are very much familiar with the script that you are going to be part of. But when you are going there on the set, you have to keep your mind empty for other things to come in. Preparing too much can go completely wrong. You can go completely stiff, and you will be unwelcoming of all the new ideas that a director can give it to you on that day. And it has happened to me in the past. When I started around 29, 30 years back, it happened to me. I used to over-prepare, and I used to have so much debate with my directors because I was not ready to welcome his ideas. Because I was so over-prepared. I was so prepared that no other new idea was welcome on the day of the shoot. So, eventually I started realizing that this is somewhere, the reason is something else. The reason is me. The reason is my preparation. So I'll have to keep my mind empty on the day of the shoot for the new ideas to come in, for the directors to direct me. It was very, very, very important. That is the unlearning that I have done.
And Rajan, DK, obviously you've learned a lot from your indie days. So how was the transition to suddenly having almost, from what it looks like from the outside, unlimited resources at your disposal compared to small indie films?
Yeah, my favorite thing is if somebody gave you a small house, it's too small for you. If somebody gave you a big house, it's still too small for you, right? So the way we operate is, right, we develop a script, concept, everything, and based on that, there are certain budgets that come out of it. And invariably, there's always somewhere you have to cut down the budget. Like no matter how big it is, you could be cutting down 10 rupees to 8, or you could be cutting 10,000 rupees to 8,000, but it's always thing. And it's almost like saying, okay, if I had all the money, all the budget I needed, I would do this. But somewhere you'd be like, okay, you're not getting it, so you maybe have to cut down a little bit. So I think every filmmaker faces that somewhere.
Yeah, budget's always problems, right? Doesn't matter where you are. The Family Man, for example, it was one of the smallest budgets we shot a series in. At this point, when we look back and realize it's a really minuscule budget we had for the family man. And it's not like they were expecting us to do action, but we really want to do a lot of action. It wasn't really, on the script, it didn't really jump out action-wise, but we decided to push trucks off hills in Kashmir and do one-take sequences all nights and all kinds of things we did in the family. We wanted to do some action that we haven't done before, but there is no budget for it. So at the end of it, again, indie roots come in. You have to figure out how you're going to shoot it with this budget. And with brilliant actors like Manoj and Dayal and all these people, we were now pushing them to shoot a lot. And they were delivering it like that. Once we were in the flow, we would shoot scenes in like half hour sometimes, because we started picking up a third camera, and it was great to be in the middle of it, sweating, carrying our own camera. I usually pick up the third camera and say, give me that other one too, because I want to get close-ups of the actors because they're performing so beautifully. And we always treat actors like melting ice on table. We feel that it should be shot as soon as they're fresh and not let them think too much and start improvising too much later. The first improvisations are great.
Manoj knows this very well. Manoj does some brilliant improvisations, right? And on the first take, second take, he does it, and we're all like superb. And even you know that by the third time, fourth time, you're maybe it's not an improvisation anymore because you become part of the act, right?
So those things. Yeah, I mean, so we kind of start to do these not for the budgets, but also the fact that dynamism on set. Instead of going back to the van and sitting there, 3 hours of lighting, and then we come and shoot one shot at a time, it's just too much. And I feel it's broken into so many pieces with coverage that we thought, especially we discovered that while making series, that we could actually do it very raw, very intense, very fresh. As soon as the actors come, we kind of finish the scene, we block it and do it in a very quickly. So yeah, I mean, we were surprised at how much we pulled off in The Family Man. Cut to the latest series, Guns and Gulabs, same thing. We started shooting in Dehradun, and we shooting what was on script. And then one day we decided, let's shoot action tomorrow, on like 2 days from now. And Netflix calls up and we're like, are you serious? We're shooting action now? Like, and we don't, the budget, it's not budgeted, but we have to now stretch the dollar. Somehow with the budget we have, we're now flying the action team, they prep, we're shooting this chase sequence in the mountains. It's not even in the script. So yes, budget is always tight irrespective of what you're shooting, and we always cut corners. We always take the money from here and put it here to make it work. So yeah, doesn't matter how much.
The short answer in summary for all of this is, no matter what filmmaker you are, no matter what film or show you're making, whatever money you need, you will never get a penny more than that. In fact, you will get a little bit less than that.
I'm sure no one has described the two of you as melting ice before. So now coming to a slightly technical part, everyone is aware that you need a script, and then the script becomes a film or a series. But for OTT, you have something called a Bible, right? So let's start with, I'll come to the actors afterwards, but can we start with you, Apurva? How do you go about building a Bible? And then we'll come to the two of you, the same question.
I think the core, very effective pitch strategies really start with, especially, let's say, fiction versus non-fiction, and talk about both. Fiction is very clear. You have to have a very clear concept, which is succinctly explainable. If you like, oh, you have to read the script to understand it, that means you yourself don't know the concept. So a Bible includes a concept note, artistic statement, which is the tone and the treatment, and the take you want to take, which is unique. And in my understanding, if you've not written the pilot, which means you have done some story engineering of all episodes, then you've not put enough effort, because people are coming with that ready material now. So if you think that you have one pager concept and people should commission development, I'm sorry, but others are putting that effort of going a little more into it, self-financing that development process, because what the Bibles we receive right now includes a full-fledged pilot, fleshed out. And to write a good pilot, you have to flesh out some engineering of the rest of the episode. So there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. But a Bible for a fiction series kind of looks like that. For non-fiction, it's research-led. And anything for fiction also research-led is great. Non-fiction is just research. If you have a very clear understanding of, you've identified your storytellers, you've identified what the main pull of the pull of your intention of doing an investigative doc series or a doc series which is like My Octopus Teacher, which is lyrical. You have a very clear intent with where you want to go. The hypothesis of the research that you want to go into is very clear.
So for fiction, along with the pilot, do you also expect to see the beats of the remaining episodes?
The beats, if it's done, because I do feel a very well-informed pilot only comes after you've beaten the whole, that's what story engineering that I spoke about, 8 episode beats are done, or 6 episode beats are done. But a good grip on understanding what that season 1 arc could look like is great. What people come back is what we expect of season 2. You have to have an idea of there's a longevity, there's a seasonal appeal to it, appeal to the concept. Because when you do pull in so many resources and time and energy of performers and artists, you want to be able to take it a little more longer haul. So the investment kind of makes sense.
But then for season 2, like what do you do with something like Veerappan, which is a finite story? So how do you pitch that?
So the hunt for is actually a very big magnum. It's like there are many, like the hunt for Osama bin Laden, the hunt for Veerappan. So there is a more global appeal to that. This Veerappan story is 3 seasons, 8 episodes each. Let's do it. Yeah. 3 seasons. It's for fictional part, as in, because we had like more than 700, 800 hours of just interviews of very core people you see. We've shot so much more, and there's so much of unraveling. We also only focused on the hunt period. We focused on the fractured psyche. Plus, the restriction of 4 episodes came from Netflix very intelligently, because there was a data point that, for example, Don't Fuck With Cats or the Tinder, all the doc series across the world were performing only to the 4th episode. Everybody was dropping out after that. Wild Country being the first OG production. So these are analytics that tell you where is your audience at, where their attention span stays. But overarchingly, the intention is to be able to create compelling content where you are. For India, I thought Veerappan was defining in terms of non-doc viewers watching, a documentary series like and loving it as much as how fiction series are appreciated as well. So it was cinematic, it was by design, the music, the way the storytellers were approached. It was very, very immersive as an experience that we were trying to drive. So those are the elements.
And Raj and DK, what's in your Bibles?
I still don't know what Bible should have.
One line pitch is their Bible.
No, I learned the entire Bible structure now. But earlier we were Googling it, saying how do you do Bible for a family man? No idea. Everybody has their own thing, but looks like what she said is more standard practice as to what we do. We just made our own stuff up. I didn't have these artistic statements and stuff. It just had a story, and we didn't even have a full pitch, I think. Actually, we went to Manoj and said, let's do it. And then he said, okay. And then we told Amazon, let's do it.
And did Amazon also say, let's do it?
Yeah, Amazon did say, let's do it. Yeah.
That's such a smart way to do it.
So, coming to the actors, what did Raj and DK share with you for the family man? It's okay, they're all friends here, you can share it.
So there was an audition that had happened. There was an audition that had happened in Chennai, and the condition was that we have to speak in Sri Lankan Tamil. So that was the thing. I don't know to speak Sri Lankan Tamil. I know to speak Tamil. So we did the audition. So the interesting thing is, I got the scene 4 days before the audition. So I had time to prepare, which generally, earlier and all never used to happen. So 4 days, so I had the time, so I worked with one of the, a person that I know who speaks Sri Lankan Tamil. So I spoke to him, got it kind of, managed it for the audition. And that's how I did the audition. And then on scene, I was actually quite surprised the way they approached, the faith that they had. I don't know. They said this is the scene. Of course, we did discuss. Mr. DK gave a very clear briefing about the character and how the pre and the post, what happens to him, from where does he come, and then the scene after that. So that was very clearly, told to me. And then the freedom was completely mine. I did what I thought would be right, and he gave that freedom. And I was very surprised, actually, thanks to you. I don't think I ever said that to him and to Mr. Raj, but thanks to them, that's the kind of faith that they have in actors. That gives us more responsibility to push and deliver. Yeah.
True. Like when you get good actors, when you get talented people that's right for the role, I think that takes a huge load off directing, right? So now you can just sit back and watch what the actor is doing, what the actor, him or her, is bringing to the character, and how they're internalizing it and all. Maybe here and there you might have to just nudge a little bit, but let them do the job. So I think, so we are lucky, I think, in Family Man, literally down to the smallest actor, to all our leads and everybody. I think the casting was done right.
So, Manoj, beyond the handshake and let's do it, did they share a Bible with you? What all did they share with you?
This
We share some wine, right?
both and Raj ran away from there after having 2 glasses of red wine, and DK and me we crumbled after a few hours. Anyway, so now I happen to be in USA, and I watched this series Narcos, and that was the first time I got myself familiar with OTT and its work. And then again I went there, Sacred Games I saw. After that, what I started realizing while exploring the OTT world, that the shows were all about sex, violence, and guns. And I was quite binge watching. I was enjoying watching it, enjoying watching some great performances, watching some great directors work. But somebody was telling me that, if at all I have to do it, I don't want to do anything which has sex, violence, and guns, because that's the template which OTT was filled up with. And that is when Mukesh Howrah, I got a call from Mukesh Howrah, the casting director. He said, Raj and DK, they want to meet you. I said, okay, film hai? No, it's a series. I said, yaar, wo sex, violence, guns hoga. No, you have to meet them. Just meet them. Okay, and we met at the club or Indigo. And in 20 minutes, Raj has given me the synopsis of this series that they wanted to make. And what was so amazing about it, that he was giving me this story about spy from Chembur, and this is the way we want to make it, a real one. And that kind of triggered everything inside me. I said, it doesn't have sex, violence, and guns, and it is talking about the real guy, and we'll have fun. That's all. That is all. 20 minutes. The meeting lasted for 20 minutes. I said, okay, let's go ahead and do it. Please send me the script whenever it gets ready. Okay, and that's how it happened. It didn't take more than 20 minutes.
I'm curious to know, before the shoot, did you get anything beyond the script? As in, like the Bible that...
Character arc and all that? No. It was there? Was it there? No. No.
Some form of it might have been made, but I think it's more of a conversation.
Yeah, more
about
of
his
a-
character and how he's going to do it and all
So
that.
yeah, I think it works for each actor. It works differently. For me, it's very important that I become friends with my directors. I know I start sitting with them. I start understanding where they are coming from, how they are looking at the character, and then I try to go beyond that and surprise myself. And put some new things, give some new dimension to their characters and how they are looking at it. So that is very important for me to really read the scenes with them, read the script with them, or with my co-actors, and then read many times alone. And that is where that is the strength of my preparation, actually, that I go through it again and again in my leisure time, so much so that it becomes part of me. And it's very important, mainly for the series, because as I said in the beginning, that you have to know the graph of your character. Otherwise, it will look quite bizarre, because if there is no graph, the director can help you only that much, because he is dealing with 100 characters. You can't be expecting him to come to you rescue. So, you have to somewhere be sufficient when you're going on the set.
And I mean, one of the things we do, and we learned this, like probably we didn't do it on Family Man season 1, but later on we learned this, we started creating dockets for each character. Like if he's playing the role of Subbu, there will be a Subbu docket where it tells the whole story, like maybe like a beat, like one line, 2 line, it tells the whole story leading up to the scene, and then he has the scene, and then so each actor gets a docket. So at any point, if they have a scene, they need to know what is happening before, after the scene, or they have to go back to their docket and look at it, where it's coming, what has happened to him, what is happening to him afterwards, and it helps them. So we started doing that just by learning from these problems, how the actor now needs to remember everything. We made these dockets for each actor. Like, of course, somebody like a Manoj will get a thick docket because it's throughout, but people with lesser screen time would get the scenes that are relevant to them leading up to that, so they get a smaller docket. So, but everybody gets one.
Also, if you give anybody the 8 episodes, 10 episodes, the whole thing, right? Nobody's going to read it. I haven't seen anyone read it so far. The people were not even reading feature scripts when you had feature scripts. You still call for narration.
Raja D. No, you know what happened? So there's a very interesting anecdote. So second season, we started shooting before the release or the streaming of the first season, and we went on the show. I mean, whatever that they have written, it came to me, and then I said, then a few things are missing. No, that's being written. That will be given to you. But let's start shoot. And when we started shooting, I prepared the character thinking that he's divorced.
Are you serious?
No, because it ended like that, the first season.
Okay, I actually thought, so in my mind, I started acting with that thought in my mind that he's divorced. And suddenly Raj one day said, no, he's not divorced right now. We are still thinking whether he should be separated or not, Manoj. But let's go ahead and shoot these things. I said, I'm going to do this. Because that is going to be the basis of the character's journey. The few scenes we've shot, and then I had to really manipulate my performance around the change the graph of theirs.
It was easy.
Be more detached now. Like being in a marriage where it's kind of like being in a divorce. You're not there.
But it's easy with Manoj. You just say, and he'll say all this, but he'll figure it out.
Now, I wanted to ask you about reception and metrics. I'll start with Apurva. Now, what is the measure of success for these shows? For example, for films you have a Friday box office, right? So you have that report card that happens on a Friday. So how do you measure it with OTT? Do networks do the streamers give you any numbers? Do they break it down for you? How do you know that you have succeeded?
As I've had more experience with Netflix, they have this web numbers that really define what top 10 performing assets are across the world, country-wise, language-wise, and so on and so forth, genre-wise as well. But other than that, no, they don't share it because then we as creators will start demanding our real worth. But it's interesting. They do a summarizing of our metric in terms of viewership, where did it drop, creative feedback in terms of how many people completed the series, not in terms of numbers, but in percentages across the world. And the good part about metrics from OTTs is that they have global numbers for global assets performing across. So if Veerappan was compared to, I think, Johnny Depp's divorce, whatever, very bad image for it, like that all. But it was, that one dropped and everybody started watching that, and global viewership like kind of sucked out. They literally sucked out all the viewers out of our show. But the fact was, it was very interesting to understand, compare it, like in one shot, you can understand your performance versus any show in the world. These are things that I'm very interested in because data is something that I deeply appreciate. In terms of number, you can keep digging into understand, but real viewership, no, they don't share. I think the best metrics, Naman, to understand good performance of a show is how many more shows you can get commissioned. So I think that warm welcome and opening of doors becomes so much easier in terms of pitching and them inviting you again and again to be able to deliver as creators is the only good metric that I would say keeps us going.
Rajanji.
Yeah, no, they don't share any numbers at all, even if you ask them. But what happens is they do give you a sense of how it's doing. They'll be like, this is doing well. Oh, this is doing very well.
But tell me, how come Ormax does the...
So now there are outside agencies like Ormax, where I think they have, like kind of like how people measure TRPs for television, right? It's not done by the channel, I think, I'm not sure.
It's based on the surveys.
Yeah, so they do surveys and they have their ways of...
Also, Manoj, I think there's a huge social media tap now that they start extracting the
that's the buzz part, the viewership part they do.
Yeah, viewership is.
But the biggest indicator of how successful a series is, honestly, is social media. How much like
response you get,
response you get, and love you get, and how long it's lasting. You get a sense of oh my God, so many people are watching, so many people are talking about it. And this is the love, this is the hate, you understand that.
It's basically pieces in various things. Some of them is like, they say how many subscribers, like the Family Man, they kind of gave us an idea that how many new subscribers came on the service and how many people finished it. These were the two metrics. That was cool. Yeah, we got a lot of subscriptions, right? So and then somebody said it's next to Marvelous Mrs. Maisel at that point or something. So you get a number. Oh, we've gotten so many subscribers for Amazon Prime. That is the metrics. But the other piece would be social media. The other would be just public, just wherever you go and they say, I've seen The Family Man. So the number of people that would say were so high, you could see how far it traveled. And of course, the other metric would be how many of our actors who are traveling to shoot season 2 were upgraded to business class or something.
But that is something, it doesn't remain hidden, it just pops up. There is, two films of mine, Gulmohar and Banda. We didn't have any number. We didn't know how to measure the success of it in terms of the numbers. But suddenly, wherever you're going, or the responses that you're getting on, and it is lasting for months. But Banda suddenly, I started getting a call from Z5 that we were only expecting these many thousands subscription in a month, but now we have crossed more than 2 lakhs. So they were talking about thousands. They were expecting thousands, the maximum, but here they were talking about lakhs. So that itself, says that it's a runaway, blockbuster, in box office language. So that's how and then you are traveling, meeting people in the flight, at the airport, wherever you're going, they are saying,
Sir,
And
आपके
your
वो-
watchman.
Yeah. हैं?
Your watchman. Who took a selfie with you after Family Man? That's all that.
Family Man. Family Man, you better be good. The Chotus, all the bachas come in. Sir, Family Man. Family Man. One photo, Family Man. You know, that is the proof of the success of the project that you are part of.
Yeah, it's like the old days. It's like the old days, right? Like 20, 30 years ago, like at the time of Sholay or Hum Aapke Hain Kaun even, you know. When a movie plays, sorry?
That's 60 years now.
No, like in the olden days. Sholay is very old, but
Pre-social media.
yeah, pre box office numbers, like nobody knows how much Sholay made, nobody knows how much Hum Aapke Hain Kaun made, but all you know is it's playing in your theater, in your local town, in local theater, and it's playing, and it's playing, and it's playing, it's playing for 100 days, and everybody you meet has seen it. So people are like, okay, it's a hit. I mean, the only benchmark there is it ran for 100 days. But other than that, it's a hit. Nobody knows how much money it made. So I think we're back to that here, saying if everybody you meet has watched it, or it's still trending in the top 10 in the platform. That means people are still watching it after so many days. But you never know monetarily what it means.
See, it's also, cinemas have a shelf life. When a movie is released, it has a shelf life. It's that weekend is what is measurable. Here, the interesting part is it's there all the time. You know, OTT. So people can watch, even if they don't have the time, they can watch accordingly. You know, they might take a month to see it. They might take 2 months to see it. But people do watch. So there's a consistent viewership that always goes on. That is what is interesting about OTT.
I want to add to that. So when season 2 dropped, season 1's viewership went up. Like it was number 1, number 2. No, actually number 1, number 3. In between was Bollywood Housewives, which is very happy that people are actually escaping. But that's what happens. That there's rediscovery, there is renewed viewership just to catch up. When because of the pandemic, a lot of distance was created between season 1, 2s or 3s, and I think that really gives a boost to material that is, you know, probably not in the top launches or trending in the market, even their carousals, but has that fan following. But you're right, like nobody. That Daily Crime is an introduction my mom wants to give you, right? Like when I walk in, nobody really knows I'm a producer of Daily Crime, but Daily Crime made it possible for people like us to be able to, you know, come into the limelight where we didn't have aspirations to create Bollywood films.